No matter what you do from this point forward, all right? Talented. I spent a lot of time with you. Good kid. Let's get ready to go to work and improve all the faster we go.
I love it. The motivation. Cleveland, so fascinating. They also took Dylan Gabriel, of course, earlier in the draft in the third round. So they're the first team to draft 2 quarterbacks within the first 5 rounds since Washington did it back in 2012 with a couple of guys you may have heard of, Robert Griffin III and the aforementioned Kirk Cousins. Deshaun Watson continues to rehab from that torn Achilles. Cleveland also signed 40-year-old Joe Flacco, and they traded with the Eagles for Kenny Pickett. And then there's this. Jordan Reed released his way too early first-round mock draft for 2026 on ESPN.com. The Browns are going to have a pair of first-round picks next year, and believe it or not, Jordan has the Browns trading to get the #1 pick and take Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's a total of 5 quarters. We got rookie training camp beginning next week, so a couple of them will be in action. D. Woody, how should they handle this?
Well, Hannah, listen, I would, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, my focus would be on the 2 drafted players. We know what Joe Flacco is, and we know what Kenny Pickett is. We know in 2026 they have 2 first-round picks. So I think for the Cleveland Browns, the priority should be trying to find out if one of these 2 rookie quarterbacks could be your long-term solution. Kevin Stefanski is one of the best play callers in the National Football League, and so I think both these guys will have a great opportunity to really try to establish himself this year and this year only.
Kind of, that's right. Like Joe Flacco's kind of like the Damian Woody of this show. You're going to have to load manage him because obviously he can't get through the whole season the way this guy can't get through the whole show. I digress. But I'm all in on Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and for 2 reasons. One, we just drafted them. Let's see what they can do. I think they're both, for different reasons, a good fit in this offense. But more fundamentally, Cleveland did an outstanding job, guys. They got Jacksonville's #1 pick. When you're picking in the top 5 and you have a franchise quarterback, you have a massive amount of needs. I love Travis Hunter. I hate the value of that trade for Jacksonville. Cleveland very well could have a top 5 pick, Hannah. You have to know what you have in those 2 quarterbacks so you can make the best decisions for 2026 and beyond.
Right. I mean, going into camp, right? But it's going to start next week because we're going to see those 2 rookies. But, Mina, when you look at sort of the breadth, really the 4 available quarterbacks, we're not counting Deshaun Watson. Obviously, he's not playing. Who's the best fit under center, do you think, for them in week 1 right now?
Well, I don't know yet, but I think what the Browns have to figure out is of this group, and I agree with Damian, by the way, I think the focus should be the young quarterbacks. Who fits the offense? Usually when there's a rookie quarterback, we say, okay, what kind of offense can they build around this quarterback tailored to his skill sets, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart. But that's not how I feel about the Browns. I think we know what this Browns offense is going to look like. It's going to be run first. They drafted 2 running backs, by the way, both of whom I like a lot. In Judkins and Dylan Sampson. And then they also added a tight end, Harold Fanta Jr. There's going to be a lot of multiple tight end sets. It's Kevin Stefanski's offense. Going to be a decent amount of under center play action. So I think for these quarterbacks, Sanders, Gabriel, Pickett, who can operate it? That's what I want to see. Who's better at executing play fakes, throwing on the move off of boots, handling those play fakes? Ball handling is part of this as well. Because I think for Cleveland, evaluating them through that lens is going to determine really who starts the most games for them this year.
I mean, this is just a pattern, right? Since returning to the NFL in 1999, the Browns have used 40 different starting quarterbacks. The most in the NFL. I'm sure that doesn't come as a surprise. Okay, including Shedeur Sanders, there were 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first 5 rounds this year, just 2 first-rounders. As you know, the Titans taking Cam Ward at #1 overall, the Jacksons trading up to get the Giants. I call them the Jacksons, the Giants. Maybe they will change their name after getting Jackson Dart. Ward joined Jim Kelly and Vinny Testaverde as the only Miami quarterbacks taken in the first round since the common draft era began. The Titans' Chigo Okonkwo talked about Cam Ward.
He just brings that element, of a dog. You just got a dog in that position. I think, I've seen the video of, the viral video of him and Shedeur training and stuff. And you just see the things he says, the way he carries himself. He just kind of has, all the intangibles that you want in that position.
Bro, they gave you a completion percentage award, and all you did was throw check downs and bubble screens. That's actually crazy. If I did that, my completion percentage would be 90.
Cam and Shedeur talking a little trash as Mikey T removes the glasses and gives us his take on what you know about Brian Callahan, how Ward fits into that offense.
Yeah, Hannah, I work with Brian's dad, Bill, at the Jets, and as Damien knows, being on those teams, attention to detail is critical. I think Cam Ward will play with that. Will Levis had 16 interceptions a year ago. I don't think that's going to happen with Brian Callahan. And the movement that Cam Ward has, I think will be great. On the boots, the rollouts, throwing on the move, I think will be a great fit. So I don't think Will Levis's career is over, but this is Cam Ward from day one. I think they will be massively improved. I think they'll be more explosive, and more importantly, he will cut down on turnovers.
Yep. Meanwhile, let's turn our attention to Tyler Shuck. He was drafted 40th overall to the Saints. Mina, with Kellen Moore now in charge there in New Orleans, how can he set up this quarterback for success?
You know, Tyler Shuck's a really pro-ready quarterback. He's got a ton of arm talent, both in terms of strength and the ability to make throws off platform, different angles, excellent with RPOs, good throwing on the move. He's got nice athleticism. If he has a flaw, aside of the age, it's that he struggles under pressure. So I think that's job one for Kellen Moore. What can you do to mitigate pressure and also to get Tyler Shuck to play faster, which factors into that. They drafted an offensive lineman in the first round, which I love for New Orleans, but some of this will also be through scheme as well. That's what he can do to help this young quarterback succeed.
Meanwhile, in Seattle, they draft Jalen Milroe in the third round. D. Woody, I know the Hawks signed Sam Darnold, obviously, this offseason. Milroe, though, is he ready to start?
No, Hannah, he's not ready to start. He still has some developing to do as a passer, things he needs to learn. But here's what he is. Walking into the National Football, he's one of the most explosive athletes at the quarterback position. And so you, as Seattle, you can create packages, okay, for a guy like Jalen Milroe. And trust me, that right there creates headache for defensive coordinators, because that's something that you got to scheme and game plan for during the week. It takes away from actually preparing for Sam Darnold and the rest of the offense. So he'll automatically walk in and be an absolute threat running the football at the quarterback position, and that's going to add a different dimension to that Seattle Seahawks rushing attack.
Yeah, Geno Smith obviously at the helm there last year, and they addressed that quarterback need. All right, coming up, Patriots made 11 draft picks this year. Each of their first 4 picks coming on the offensive side of the ball. They take LSU's offensive tackle Will Campbell with the 4th overall pick. And on day 2, they got Drake May, some more weapons, taking Ohio State running back Travion Henderson and Washington State wideout Kyle Williams. So I start with you, Mina Kimes. They also drafted a kicker and a long snapper, which is so much fun. You would think that Bill Belichick was in the building doing that. What did you think of their draft in terms of supporting May?
Yeah, I don't have any analysis on the kicker or the long snapper, but as far as the rest of the class, particularly the offensive players they took for early on, I absolutely loved what the Patriots did. They went into this draft with, I felt, some pretty glaring needs on offense, and they managed to really address those needs without reaching from a value perspective, starting, of course, with Will Campbell, who they envision as the long-term left tackle of the future who can grow with Drake May. But I want to highlight the next 2 picks because I think what both Travion Henderson and Kyle Williams do is they give this offense big play potential. Henderson was a home run hitter as a back, averaged 7 yards per carry, which is the most of any Power 5 back. And Kyle Williams, out of Washington State, averaged the most yards after catch per reception of any Power 5 receiver. I think he adds a speed element to this group that pairs really nicely with Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas, who can work the short intermediate parts. So, yeah, I just feel like the Patriots knocked this one out of the park. I think it was a really, really great draft class for them.
Mina, I totally agree, and you focus more on the skill players. I'll take it up front, and if we think about the offseason as a continuum, it really started in free agency, getting guys like Garrett Bradbury, getting Morgan Moses, and then knowing that they're not going to go into the season with Verdarian Lowe at left tackle, they draft Will Campbell. Drake May got hit way too many times last year. To me, that was job number 1. It was great to get those skill players as well, as Mina had mentioned. But if you can't protect a young quarterback, nothing else matters. So I like how, Hannah, they sort of bootstrap this offensive line a little bit in free agency, a little bit in the draft. I think this offensive line should be vastly improved.
Yeah, listen, they need it. Drake May was pressured at the highest rate of any quarterback in the NFL last season, so you have to do that. All right, today is the deadline also for teams to pick up or decline players' 5th-year options. As expected, the Lions have exercised the option on star edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson. He's coming off that season-ending injury, as you know, but he's going to stay in Detroit, of course, through 2025. Really key piece to their defense. They also pick up wide receiver Jamison Williams, his fifth-year option. So, Mikey T, with the deadline here, what do you like? What do you not like? What surprised you with these fifth-year options?
Hannah, I really like what the Dallas Cowboys did. They exercised the option for Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith has been rock solid so far in his career. Started 47 games. And if you're going to invest a first-round pick in Tyler Booker, you're saying we need to have a firm pocket for Dak Prescott. Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker. Look, it's a little expensive at $23.4 million a year. But again, that gives them an offensive line that is now solidified up front. Okay, next we have for the New York Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't like the fact that they exercise the option, and here's why, Hannah. You have Brian Burge, you're paying a lot of money on one side. You just took Abdul Carter on the other side. Kayvon Thibodeau has been a beast so far. He's not a bust. He's a solid player, but I'm assuming to get him on the field, they're going to slide him inside. And look, the price isn't overwhelming at $14.1 million a year, but I don't know you want to pay that for a rotational pass rusher. If he was a more conventional defensive end, I think that's okay. And then lastly, the Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Linderbaum. This one candidly surprises me. Tyler Linderbaum has been a really good player for Baltimore. I assume they want to get a deal done. The problem with the system is the centers are bootstrapped with the guards and the tackles,
right.
And his option would have been roughly about $23 million. So I'm sure Baltimore's going to try to get a deal done. Highest paid center right now is Creed Humphrey at about $18 million a year. So I got to figure that's the reason they didn't exercise.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best in the NFL, all-pro. So you got to figure this is a technicality at this point, and they'll get it done. All right, we're just getting started on.
Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cách làm một sợi dây treo trang trí đơn giản từ len nhé. Nguyên liệu của mình cần có chính là len. Mình sử dụng 3 màu sắc như thế này nhá. Màu hồng, màu xanh da trời và màu cam sẽ kết hợp lại với nhau để tạo ra một sợi dây treo nhé. Mình sẽ sử dụng kim móc len để làm này. Và cần cả kéo nữa nha mọi người. Rồi bây giờ sẽ bắt tay vào làm. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ sử dụng cái phần len màu hồng trước nhé. Đây mình sẽ gỡ cái len hồng ra để sử dụng.